So welcome to the Coach's Corner, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sim, your man Sim. Andy is here in the building with me. And we're going to break down today, we're going to talk about Tom Thibodeau, right? We're going to take a break from our usual film sessions, and we're going to talk about Tom Thibodeau and how Tom Thibodeau might approach certain players on this team. And this is an important topic, right? Some people may look and say, this is kind of corny. It's not corny. It's an important topic because every player has a different personality. They bring different characteristics to the team. And so the way that you approach those players can go a lot into developing chemistry, into getting the best out of that player. And then, of course, you can't show favoritism. Sometimes the way that you approach a player appears to other players that you're showing favoritism. It's not showing favoritism. It's just, I can be tough with this guy. I might need to be delicate with this guy. You know, I might need to be even keel with this guy. I find your best coaches know how to reach a player, know how to interact with a player's personality. And that's not easy, especially if you got someone who's just, I know one way and this is the way that I do it. That can be difficult. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about Tom Thibodeau. We're going to talk about his personality, players' personalities, and how Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff, not just Tom, but the coaching staff, might address that player and get the best out of that player by developing a relationship. All right, so Andy, I guess we'll just start with, let's talk about Tom Thibodeau and his personality. Right?
Yeah.
And what does he bring to the table with his personality?
You know what? First of all, he's a strong-headed, strong-minded dude. I think he's more, of a maybe not dictator, right? But like an autocratic coach. He's gonna demand this and this style of play from these guys. And I think, like we said in the first cut, that probably he's going to have sit-downs with these dudes as a team, as personal guys, and, he's going to have team goals and he's going to have personal goals for all the players. And that's what I expect from every coach. With Thibs, I think, it's going to be about the communication with the players. And, I feel he will probably go his old style all the way, meaning that he's going to be straightforward with them. Turning corners, stuff like that, hiding, going behind doors and talking about players, and that. And I think at the beginning, if a team has a new coach, I think all the players will respond. But during the season, when, the results are not going to be there, or something negative is going to happen, I don't know, some rifts in the locker room, stuff like that, that communication channel might be a little bit blurry, might fail. And as I see it, that's where the assistant coaches come in, or a vet like Taj Gibson. Mm-hmm. He's going to communicate through, he's going to be that middle point, right? Or the assistants coaches, they're going to be the middle point. And unless Thibs really sees that, a guy needs, some positive, impulse from him, of course he's going to do it, right? But I don't think he's going to be one of the coaches that he's going to have expectations from, an individual way to talk with every other player, right? I think he's one of the old style coaches that he saw. He had the wins under his belt. He has a championship from Boston as an assistant, and I think he's going to be I'm the boss here. I demand this and this. And I think, like I said, at the beginning, it's going to be enough to have all the players, under him. But as we go forward, some might, crumble under that, and then we're going to see the adjustments happen.
do you think there's going to be any kind of, he said in earlier interviews, ESPN, this and that, you know, he's learned a lot from coaching over the years, and that he's, you know, maybe learn how to take a smoother approach with players. Is that even in his personality to do so? I mean, you can see his face on the screen right now. He's probably screaming at a referee, but still, is it even in his personality to do so? And maybe he starts out that way, and then, you know, kind of, I don't want to say switches up, but maybe he starts out like, you know what, I am going to approach my players like this, that, and the other thing. But then when you start getting into the thick of it, your true nature usually comes out. You know, the true nature shines through.
Yeah, and you know what? I think when the brass hired him, right? I think they had expectations for him. Of course, they had, you know, multiple conversations, and they tried to figure it out if he's able to adjust, you know, to this new, I don't know, maybe not style of playing, but to the mentally of these young kids, right? Because he's growing older. But you know, the players change, right? It's not these guys that came into the NBA 20 years ago. They're a little bit softer mentally, softer, you know, maybe physically. They don't react like those guys in the league back in the day. So I'm guessing he has to adjust. The question is he gonna adjust as soon as, you know, it's gonna be recommended? Maybe not recommended. As soon as it's going to be, you know, as soon as he realizes that it's needed, right, to adjust. Because, you know, we didn't see him, you know, making adjustments that good because, you know, he wasn't our coach. And I don't think we followed Thibs that good when he was in Minnesota or he was in the Bulls, right?
Right. Well, you know, he's got a coaching staff there. You know, hopefully he uses his coaching staff accordingly. You know, that'd be the smart thing to do. And I think he will. I think that he will, because he's got some good guys. You know, you got Kenny Payne there so that he can help. You know, he's been a college assistant, right? So he's used to, you know, being young that guy, like diehard Knicks fan is saying in the chat. You know, you got your assistant coaches to be that olive branch. He's used to being that olive branch. Mike Woodson, I think, he does a really good job, which was evident to me when he coached the Knicks, you know, when he was coaching Melo and them guys, you know, that he's able to manage personalities. And I think that's how he got the best out of that team, you know, is he was able to manage personalities.
And to be true, Sim, that's one of the biggest roles for those assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. Is to be that middle guy between the head coach and, you know, and the player, because they're not only there to develop a shot or to teach defense or, I don't know, develop individual skills, right? They're a part of the coaching team, coaching staff, and the whole team and the whole organization. So, you know, everybody's got to have that same goal. And let's hope that, you know, nobody's going to have some, you know, put personal goals ahead of the team goals. That's when it's all going to be working out.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's start with RJ Barrett. Right now, he is he's the shining star for the New York Knicks right now. Okay. RJ Barrett. What is the best way for Tom Thibodeau to reach RJ?
Well, you know, as I see it, he's a young guy, and from what we saw in his first season and his mentality and his approach to the game, I'm guessing you just go straight ahead at him, right? You don't go around, you don't, you know, you just call him up, you know, as you said before a meeting, before a game, after a game, and just, you know, go blunt on it, like, RJ, you did this and this right, this and this wrong. You got to adjust the wrong things to make it happen better, right? And I don't think, you know, we need to even say something else here with RJ. I think his mental, you know, preparation for the game, for a basketball player, for a leader on this team in the future, I think it's perfect, and I think they're going to mesh. So...
Yeah, I agree. As I said before, I think they are going to mesh. I think they have similar outlooks on the game of basketball and the way that you should approach the game of basketball. I think RJ has a strong mentality. I think he's a mentally tough person. I think being mentally tough is important in any sport that you play. And I think RJ is a mentally tough player. Hopefully that's going to resonate with the rest of the team. And I'm not saying we have guys that are soft, but I just hope that it resonates with everybody on the team, right? His mental toughness. And when you got a coach like Tom Thibodeau, you've got to be mentally tough to you got to be mentally tough to deal with Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, and to play in this market, Sin, we got to add that.
Definitely.
New York is not your regular, market of an NBA team, right?
Right.
This is one of the hardest places to play, but if the reward is going to be huge if we're going to be winning. So
I agree. I think that I think Tom Thibodeau can just come to RJ and say, hey, you're not doing this, that, and the third. This is what I expect from you. And RJ is the type of player that's going to go out and say, okay, this is what coach needs me to do. This is what I'm going to do. I hope that Tom Thibodeau is the type of coach that really does build a relationship with the players. And I'm not talking about a David Fizdale type of relationship, right? I'm talking about the type of I don't always want to say father-son, but the type of relationship where players just straight up respect him. They're afraid. They have a healthy fear of him.
Yeah, they don't get offended or play out like little kids. No fusses and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think RJ will have that kind of respect for Tom Thibodeau. He comes from a place where coaching is a place from good coaching, right? A place where, coming from Duke, where, you have strong systems in place and all those type of things. So I think he will respond well to it. It is what he's used to, and I think he'll respond well. I think he'll respond well to Tom Thibodeau, and probably any approach that Tom Thibodeau brings to RJ. Because I think RJ is just a tough guy and a tough-minded guy, and they think alike. So, I'm not really worried about RJ. Now, somebody said, Ralph, I think it was Ralph Diaz, before the stream went down the first time, said that he's afraid that RJ, has an AAU type of mentality. And when some players have an AAU mentality, they're kind of like, I'm the guy. Your team is nothing without me. So what I want, I'm gonna get. I don't think he has that kind of mentality. If that's what Ralph Diaz was saying, I don't think he has that kind of mentality. I think RJ is coachable and wants to be coached. Right. The next guy, I have a lot more concern about the next guy than I do about RJ Barrett. All right, we're talking about Julius Randle. Right? This, to me, between Tom Thibodeau and Julius Randle, it can either be that Julius Randle is going to have one of the best years of his career, or it could be explosive. I don't even see a middle ground. I see it being one of the two. I'm not exactly sure which way it's going to go. Right? If you look at some of the things that Julius Randle had in his contract, he had incentives to make the All-Star team, right? You get a bonus if you make the All-Star team. Incentives if you're an all-defensive player. Okay? So it tells you a little bit about the expectations that his team, or when I say his team, his agents, so on and so forth, have for him, the expectations that he might have for himself, and the expectations that last year's team had for him to build those things into his contract. Right? So it might tell you a little bit about his mentality of who he might think he is as a player. right? He may think that he is on the cusp of going to another level and should be approached as such. You know what I mean? Approaching Julius Randle, you may approach Julius Randle a little bit differently than you approach RJ. Right? He's been in the league a little bit longer, so that's one aspect of it. And two, I think he's the kind of guy that you have to, you brush the ego a little bit. Brush the ego. You sit him down. You say, "Come on, let's have a sit down. Let's have a conversation." And you say, "Listen, I like that you're doing this. I like that you're doing that. I like that you're doing this. I like that you're doing that. Here's some things where I think you really need to work. Let's set up this plan on how we're going to get these things done. And if they don't get done, this is what's going to happen." Right? And you come to and you talk and you keep your standards as a coach, and you keep your standards of the team, but you sit down with that player and you explain, say, "Listen, here's the standards we set forth. Just like anybody else, if you don't reach these, then here's what's got to happen." You know what I'm saying? And I think he's the type of player where you've got to approach that way. Where RJ, you can just be like, "Listen, you didn't do this. You need to get this done now." With Julius, you might have to approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. I just think that these kind of personal goals made on paper before Thibs came, they're not going to be erased, right? Because Thibs is not going to come and say like, "Okay, Julius," in the personal, before the season meeting, "Julius, listen, I don't care what you got in the contract. I don't care about none of those individual things. We are a team, and I want only team, goals," right? Well, that's the first place that he might get offended. Of course, I don't know if Thibs is going to do that, right? But I don't expect Thibs to do that. But like you said, he's got to, work with Julius more like with an egg than go straight up at him, because he can get, offended. Of course, at the beginning, it might work, like I said before, for the whole team. That kind of approach might work. And because I think that also the players, they understand what kind of a coach Thibs is, right? So they preparing mentally before even the first meeting, after those short individual workouts. They know him, right? So, and they have expectations of him. So I'm guessing nobody's gonna, cry or act soft and think, "Okay, I'm not gonna make the team because Thibs is a coach," and go mentally, soft, right? But I'm guessing you got to be more careful with Julius than with RJ. And as you said, it's gonna be black or white. It's gonna work or it's not gonna work totally. There's no middle ground here. And the only thing that can happen perfectly is the adjustment of treating Julius like through the assistant coaches. We have Kenny Payne, which worked with him in college, right? So I'm guessing that might be one of the biggest reasons that Kenny got the job, even that he knows Julius, he knows how to pep talk him, before games and stuff like that. And Thibs might be, "Okay, you don't want to listen to me, or I don't get through to you. Kenny, go just do it." They're not going to be like, saying this to the media, right? It's going to be in the coaches meeting and stuff like that. But they might try to trick Julius like that. "Okay, I'm going to say the team part. And then, Kenny's going to be at workouts, at shoot-arounds. He's going to be, "Julius, listen, just do this and this. It's going to work out. It's going to work out." And, Julius doesn't have to know that it's really Thibs talking through Kenny, right? They're just going to make him think that it's, there's more Kenny, working out with him or Woody or whoever, and not only Thibs, if he's going to be having, a tough relationship with it.
Yeah. And, I think that, I'm hoping, though, that Randle and Thibs can develop a close relationship.
Yeah.
Because
of course, we got to hope that.
Yeah.
We don't want rifts from the beginning. So
right. I think that those two players right there, RJ and Julius Randle, if I'm Tom Thibodeau, even though you may have to approach those two guys differently, assuming that they're both on the team when they start, I'm bringing these two guys together and I'm saying, listen, we need to be on the same page, right? We need to be on the same page. I need you guys to help spread my voice throughout the team. And some people may not want to give, Julius Randle this kind of respect right now. I get it. I know a lot of people just want him gone. But assuming that he's on the team, he's going to be one of the players that you're going to have to do that to. Say, listen, this is who we have right now. Assuming that you don't get somebody else that's, assuming you don't get a Chris Paul or another type of player like that. If RJ and Julius Randle are your two primary players coming into this season, then those are the guys you're going to have to sit down and say, we need to have this conversation because us three need to be on the same page. You might even pull in Taj Gibson into that conversation, right? Yeah. As a coach, it is important that your top players, you have your top players preaching what you preach, right?
Yeah.
And with Julius again, his age difference with RJ means something too, because RJ still, he's 19, 20 years old. He's still in that mode where, you listen to your parents and, you're getting to the point where you're like, I kind of trying to do my own thing, saying, why my father keep talking about this and that. When you're 26 years old, you're like, man, I don't give a damn what my father just said. This is what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So, Julius might be kind of at that age, too, where he's like, he's growing into being a man. And so, you got another guy that's coming in, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yo, hold up. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man, too. You know what I mean? So, that kind of thing kind of comes in where, age means something. So, you approach Julius a little bit differently, but you still bring them two together, I think, and say, this is I need you guys. I need you guys' assistance. I need your guys' help. For both of those players, I think that's a way right there off the bat to get them to be like, okay, you know what? I like this. You know what I'm saying? I like the position that he put me in and how I feel about it. You know?
That's why, Sim, I think that from the beginning, Tibbs can't show, maybe he can bend a little bit, right, for like the rules he has or the thing, but I don't think he can go like, okay, Julius, what do you think? And ask, like, Julius is going to say, I don't like morning shoot-arounds or whatever, right?
Right.
So I think, he has to be strict because, Julius also, like you said about the age, he's not over 30, right? So he can't say like, just trade me, I don't care, right? He still wants to play here. He wants to develop as an NBA player, grow as an NBA player. So I think he should, at least from my point of view, he should respect and appreciate that Thibs is a coach and is going to coach with a strong hand. Yeah. I think that's a good thing for him at this point of his career. If he's going to be like 34, 35, then you don't care, right? Because, it's the last legs of you and the NBA and last contract probably. But at this point, I think he should really appreciate and buy in fully to whatever Thibs says, because we can't have any rifts in the locker room, because if Thibs is going to lose the locker room, and some guys, like, imagine we had the same squad last year, right? Thibs would have this year. He would have Alfred, whatever. A rift between Thibs and Randle would probably split the locker room.
Yeah, it would.
Alfred would say, I know Julius like 8 years or 10 years now, right?
Right.
Why I'm going to listen to Thibs? They're not going to fire both of us. So, and when you have that split and the, not the same goals, it's really bad for a team.
Yeah.
At least a developing team, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I see someone saying, Ralph, I think it was Ralph Diaz. He said, approach Randle much, much tougher. And then Diehard Nick said, Julius is a father. I think he's going to need that respect. He wants to learn how to win. What can he do finally? What can he do to finally play winning basketball? I agree with both guys. I think that you can be tough, but also be respectful to a player. You know what I mean? And I think if Tom Thibodeau was that way with Julius Randle, I think Julius Randle will respond well, if he's that way. If he shows him that respect as a man, because yes, he is a father. He has his own children, right? His own child. And he's a husband. You show him that respect. But you're also like, but I'm not going to bend the rules and the standards of this team. I'm going to give you the respect, but we're not going to bend. I think it can work, I think it can work. The next guy on the list, and, Kevin Knox. He's up until we get this new draft pick, he's the baby of the team, I guess. That's what you want to say. If I am Tom Thibodeau, I am going to be hard on Kevin Knox, right? I know some people think that it's going to shake his confidence. I do not think so. I think that, he may have his times where he's like, I think Kevin Knox wants to be coached. I really do. And I think he needs somebody that just pushes him. I don't think he doesn't need a friend like, old boy over there, David Fizdale, was trying to be his buddy. He doesn't need a friend. He doesn't need someone to go out and get ice cream with, just stay up and play video games with. He's got teammates for that. He needs a coach that's going to kick his ass. That's what I think about Kevin Knox, and I think that's how Tom Thibodeau needs to approach Kevin Knox.
And you know what? I agree. I think Thibs should go hard on every of our players, but on Kevin, I think we gotta see how he's gonna respond, because I think he might be one of the first guys on this roster that we have now that might crumble under Thibs.
You think?
And that's when the assistants come in and really positively reinforce that confidence, that those positive mental things on him, just to make him think that he's really doing this to make you a better player.
Right.
And from Thibs' standpoint, from Kevin's standpoint, as long as he's going to have chances, even if he fails the team and the coach, he's going to see the light in the tunnel. And I believe he's going to work for that. Unless, Thibs is going to sit in for like 30, 40 games. No, that might break a guy like Kevin. But, I still have hope in him. As far as I, disliked and even said bad words about him at the end of the season, but I don't know why I soften up on even on DSJ, on Randle, and on Kevin, coming into this season. Maybe it's that, the lack of Knicks basketball that's making me hungry. So I just want to see any Knick on the court. So
yeah. And I hear you when you say that, he's one of those guys that could maybe, the pressure could get to him. And if that's the case, then he doesn't belong in the NBA. That's my opinion on him, right? If that's the case, if you can't handle what Tom Thibodeau is going to throw at him, then he doesn't belong in the NBA. I think Tom Thibodeau should just go ahead and throw it at him. Try to push him to the limit. I feel like he needs that push. Push him to the limit, make him cry if you got to. Break him down to the bone.
Yeah, and I think this sim is maybe not Kevin's problem, right? But he's still really he didn't grow mentally, like he didn't age mentally yet. He's still a kid, even if he's 20, 21, whatever, right? He's still, he acts like he's, a little bit younger. So that's why only I think that it might break him. That's the only thing, because in like 2, 3, 4 years, I think that he's going to be really hard, and he's going to, get roughened up mentally, physically, whatever, and he's going to be a good player. Just, this or the next season might be the season that's going to break him, and like you said, he won't belong in the NBA. So let's hope he's going to pan out for the Knicks.
Yeah, because I just feel like, if a coach can break you, then break you down to where you're just gone. And I'm not saying that he has to just scream at him and holler at him. That's not coaching. That's not coaching.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is, with Kevin Knox, when I say be tough on him, be super tough on him, is you don't give him there's no leeway. Right. It's like, everything about how you approach him is very regimented. right? You're developing a relationship with them. You develop a relationship with them. You always got to do that, right? That's that's such a huge part of coaching. Even though the players are getting paid, it's a huge part of coaching, right? So you develop the relationship with him, but he comes late to practice. First of all, it should be like this with every player. But after you've coached for a while and you've been there for a while, if someone comes late, if you have a player has a child and that child was sick, you might say, okay, you know what, this is what's, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, right? Someone like Kevin Knox, he doesn't have a child, not that we know of, right? He comes late to practice. Yeah. Right. He comes late to practice. Bam. You don't take no excuses. It's like, I don't want to hear anything. Whatever it is, whatever the consequences are, you make him do those consequences, and you catch him on every little thing. And you sit down and you have talks with him, right? But you're tough on him. And when you're doing drills in practice, he's the first dude you call out. You let him know, I'm watching you. I am on you. And you tell him, when I stop doing this, be concerned, because that means I no longer feel that you got it, right? And you're just on them. And I've had to be like that with a few players. I had this one kid, man. He came to me in the 10th grade, and he walked about 5 miles to get to my practice because whatever was happening. He walked 5 miles to get to practice. Got to practice, and he was late. He didn't make it. It was tryouts, actually. He didn't make it. But because he walked so far, I was like, you know what? I like this. I like the fact that he had that kind of dedication. I brought him onto the team. He was, I seen him play. He was a decent ball player. Brought him onto the team, right? But he was a kind of like, he would be all over the place. And, he would, he's the kind of kid who he would just speak without even thinking about what he's saying. He didn't know where to be on the court. Just all these little things. He had talent, but all these little things he didn't know how to do. And he didn't know how to use his talent. So he was on the bench. I benched him. And I would be on him for everything. You know what I'm saying? He was late to practice. Even if he walked to practice, he was late. It didn't matter. He ran. He did whatever the number of push-ups we had to do. Whatever the consequences were, he had to do them. I didn't care that he had to walk to practice. Right, because he needed the discipline in order to make it. Right, he didn't. He sat down the end of the bench. He would always complain, "Coach, I could beat this person one-on-one. I could beat that person." I'm like, I don't care. Do you know where to be on the floor? Do you know what to do when you're out there? Give him his chance to get out there on the floor. Be in the wrong spot. I'd pull him out, sit down, and tell him, like, listen. I told you to be here, here, or here, and this is where you were. What were you doing? Well, coach, da-da-da. Sit here, watch the game. You know what I mean? Eventually, he finally got it. You know what I'm saying? And by the time he was a senior in high school, he was one of the leaders of the team. You know what I mean? And he'll tell you to this day, like, he had to go through it. We had tough conversations. He'd be breaking down into tears sometimes because he thought he should be playing this and that and the other thing. He ended up going to college and playing in college for, like a Division III school or something like that. But it was cool because he only played 1 year of high school basketball. He only played the senior year.
That's what I said, Sim, it's more than basketball. It's about discipline. It's about life rules and stuff like that. So, And if I can plug a short story here, I don't know if you remember Anthony Randle, the guy that we got traded, that big four, right? I remember I was watching a game and he stole the ball he split, cut the lanes, stole the ball and dunked, like one-on-one dunk, right? And he started flexing and talking to the bench of the opposite team. It was here in Europe after his NBA career, right? Mm-hmm. And, he started talking to the opposite bench team and stuff like that. The guys inbounded fast, and his guy scored a 3, right? Coach took time out. He looked at Randle, told him, what are you doing and stuff like that. And Randle responded, said, coach, I was, something like this. The coach said, he acted like, what? Did you say something back to me? And he pointed the finger to the locker room. Mm-hmm. It was like the second quarter. and he made him stay the whole game in the locker room after that, bro. And I remember this because I was thinking, damn, this coach is going to get fired. This guy was playing in the NBA. He's a, a huge star in that team, right? No, Anthony Randolph had to buy an ad in the newspaper and say he was sorry to the coach. Bro,
wow.
It happened like 2-3 years ago. I'm going to pull up the article when I find time.
Wow.
Well, it was hilarious. For me, it was hilarious. But, this is how coaches get respect in Europe. You can't talk back. I don't remember if he even talked back or if he even looked at the coach. Like, what are you complaining about? He made him walk to the locker room and made him stay there to the end of the game.
Yeah, that's how you do it, man. I mean, just discipline. And discipline doesn't mean screaming.
Yeah,
discipline is not. It
doesn't mean, but
it's not screaming at all.
Respect,
actually,
so
right.
Yeah,
discipline is not screaming at all. You know what I mean? So I think there's a way you can really be disciplined with Kevin Knox, and not, break his heart and hurt his feelings and beat him down. You can be disciplined while building confidence. And I think that's the way that Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff needs to approach Kevin Knox. Having Kenny Payne there is going to be great for Kevin Knox. Great for Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's going to be great for him. So, that's the way that I would approach Kevin Knox. Discipline, man. Discipline. I had this one kid, I think I told this story before. Every game, his first shot, it didn't matter if he had an open layup, whatever. He could come down on a fast break, and instead of taking a layup, he shoot the three. Right? And it would piss me off. It pissed me off. And I was like, I told him, I said, listen, he might be watching. No, he usually watches on YouTube. I told him, I said, listen, the next time your first shot of the game is a three, you're sitting on the bench. I'm pulling you out right now. We were in a game. This was an outside game in D.C. on New York Avenue. We were playing in this outside tournament. And he came down. He had the option. He could have went to the basket. He could have pulled the three. He pulled up the three. He made it. I looked at him, and I pointed to the bench, pulled him out, or he seen whoever coming in to sub in for him, and I pointed to the bench and sat him down. And that was in the first. Well, that was actually, we played it in halves. That was like the first minute of the first half. I didn't put him back in until about 2 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just you discipline. Need to learn, right?
Yeah, just discipline, man. Next guy up the bat, Frank Ntilikina. What's your approach with Frank? You probably know a little bit more about Frank's. I mean, I think I know his mentality, but you probably know a little bit more about his mentality than me.
Yeah, I think, on this point, Thibs is going to go, he can go hard on Frank. I don't think Frank is going to be rattled because he knows that he can, make the expectations that Thibs is going to want him to achieve, right? Because he's going to expect defense from him. I don't know what are going to be the expectations on the offensive end from Frank, because, I'm expecting a couple of threes here and there, right? I don't think Thibs is gonna, I think this is the player that if he doesn't play well offensively, I mean, maybe not well offensively, if he's not going to be taking those shots like we expect him, at least to take those shots, right? I think this is the one thing that Thibs might let slide, that he's not going to be like, Frank, you should have shot that ball. Why didn't you shoot? You're hitting the bench, right? I think that he's going to make that slide. And that's only because we don't know the expectations also, right? But I think he's going to be really confident in Frank and vice versa, that Frank is going to be confident because he knows that Thibs is expecting defense first from him. Mm-hmm. And, I think Frank, played and learned basketball craft in Europe, and he had strong-headed coaches here. Rarely there's a, friendly coach here. Maybe not friendly is the right word, like a really soft coach that doesn't care and stuff like that. When someone is trying to teach basketball here in Europe, everybody's want to have a strong hand. And if he made it on the top level in Europe, I think he already had a great coach in Collet, which is the French national team coach as well, and I know he's a hard nosed coach as well in the league. So I believe he can work miracles with Frank as a coach and as the expectations go from Thibs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Frank can handle it. I think he's a lot like RJ in his mentality. You know what I'm saying? He may not have the talent that RJ has, but I think he's a lot like him in his mentality, work ethic, and he's a coach's player. I think whichever way the coach approaches him, he's going to respond accordingly. You know what I mean? So I have no worries about Frank Ntilikina and Tom Thibodeau at all, or anyone on the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think what we can add with Frank. I think he might be the last guy on this squad to have to cause any problems in the locker room. Dude, if they would, I don't know, piss in his shoes, he would take it, and don't make a riff about it.
Yeah.
He's one of those laid back guys that
let me ask you,
wouldn't make anything.
Is that to his benefit or detriment sometimes?
No, of course it's going to be to his detriment sometimes, right? Because they're going to expect him to be a man and man up sometimes, right? But I think if he noticed that they're playing around with him like that, he would stand up, right? But I think if someone is making a practical joke on him, he would smile and take it as a joke and maybe try to prank someone back up, right? But I don't think it would be like fight back and have any idea that this might cause a locker room problem. So
now, I mean, look, we've seen Frank have some fire. I say that he's definitely had some fire. I don't want him to just always be quiet. Like
I want him to get a tech, bro.
Yeah.
For pushing someone.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like if you have a son and your son is like always good and never got in trouble for skipping school, never got in trouble for doing this, you might think like, yo, what's wrong with this kid? Like most kids get in trouble for something. Like why? You don't want your kid to be too much of a nerd. And if there's any nerds out there, I love you guys, but you know what I'm saying? You don't want your kid to be too much of a nerd. You want your kid to get into something so you know that they got some life. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that with Frank. I want to see Frank get into something. His first year when he pushed LeBron, he tried to push LeBron. He didn't have enough strength to really move LeBron.
Yeah.
He kind of pushed LeBron, and Frank's body still went the opposite way. But I like to see that. Just a little bit of it. To let you know that he has that. He has that kind of mentality. I had a player one time that is really good ball player, 6'4", guard. For our team, he played from everywhere from the guard to the 4 spot, and we picked up a player that was about 6'8", and we were playing. We were playing a team, and we needed to win this game to go to the championship in the tournament, and. The one kid was, he was my guy. He had been there with me. And the center, we picked him up. He was almost unstoppable down low. Right? So what I was trying to get them to do, I said, I want you to pass it to such and such down low. I want you to cut to the basket. He's going to dip it off to you for the layup. We had the whole thing set up. Right? In my mind, I kind of was like, I should just give him the ball and let him go one-on-one because I know he can go ahead and get the bucket. Right? Probably, most likely. I gave him a 65% chance of just going ahead and getting that bucket. Right? But I knew if this happened, it was going to be an easy bucket, and maybe he would have gotten fouled. So he went and he passed it to the big guy down low. Cut to the basket. He was wide open. The big guy traveled before he passed it. He passed it, but he traveled before he passed. They called it travel. We end up losing. We don't go to the championship, right? And I spoke to him, and I was like, we talked afterwards. He was like, Coach, you should just let me go ahead and get mine. I had it, and I was like, sometimes you might just have to go ahead and do that. If I tell you one thing and you think it's wrong, just go ahead and do it. We'll talk about it afterwards. If it's something that I was really passionate about and I get in your face about it, we just do it. You know what I'm saying? But we had that kind of relationship, you know what I'm saying? At that point, I don't know if I was right or wrong, but maybe I should have just let him go ahead and, it was his team, basically. Should have just let him go ahead and do what he does. But he's the kind of player that's going to do what the coach says. You know what I'm saying? And the coach isn't always going to be right. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the coach is going to be wrong. And if you feel certain things on the court, and you have that kind of relationship with your coach, then you might just have to go ahead and do certain things sometimes as a player. I like to see Frank do some of that. Just like, I'm going to make this decision out here on the floor. I'll deal with coach afterwards, but I'm going to be strong enough to make this decision regardless of what the coach says. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if he has that. That kid, I think in that situation, we both grew. And, as we played more games, I came to understand that, okay, I'm going to just let this guy go ahead and make a couple decisions. If I think he's going the wrong way, this and that. If he took a bad shot, I throw my hands in the air like this, like, yo, what's up? And he shake his head like, all right, I got it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, situations like that, you grow. But I like to see Frank, and maybe this is a year he starts to do some of those things.
Yeah, and I think he's going to do it because, I think Thibs is going to light that fire under him. And because of the confidence he's going to have, I think he's going to be able to do those, plenty of more stuff that we didn't see from him. Yeah. I think it's the confidence. It's not only the confidence in the shot. I think if he's going to be confident for his minutes, for his playing style, for his, role on the team, he's going to be able to do more.
Yeah, and I see Ralphie said, it has to be taught that the coach isn't always right. That is something that's true. Most players are always, it's kind of like, do what the coach says, do what the coach says. The coach is right, the coach is right. And that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? It's not always the case at all. Sometimes, a coach thinks he sees one thing, but the players are the ones who can actually feel it. And you got to, as a coach, you got to be able to say, let me hear what my players are saying. You know what I mean? Then he said it's kind of hard for Frank to do that and all, especially since he's been on a short leash for some time. That's a hard read for him. I agree, it is. But at some point, I think when you grow up, just like a son with his father, you have that one moment where you're like, he ain't telling me nothing no more. Shit, watch this. You might get beat down, but you might get jacked up and thrown up against the wall once or twice. But, you have those moments where you got to do that. You know what I mean? It happens. Let's talk about Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is an enigma for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hard read, right?
It's a hard read. It's a hard read on how to approach Mitch.
On Mitch's point, I think I just hope that Rich Paul is not too up in Mitch's head, because I know that when he's going to be the agent of his and stuff like that. I just hope he doesn't have too big of an influence on Mitch, because the influence is going to be strictly one way. Do yourself, all the things that are going to work for you. So, and coming with the contract situation coming up soon, let's say soon. I just hope that Mitchell stays on the team goals, sets his goals, also, but they are not going to be affecting the team, team first mentality for him too.
Yeah. Do you think he can handle, if Tom Thibodeau is, hard on him, do you think he can handle that? He hasn't really been coached. Yeah,
exactly. And this might be a problem for him also, because he didn't play in college. So, and let's be true, those high school, the high school game he was playing with, he also, was transferring from this, from that. I'm not sure he had a coach like Thibs, right? That he had to figure out, to be the younger, maybe not the younger guy, that just the player, and what the coaches say is like, a saint talking, right? So I hope just that if Thibs' communication with Mitch isn't clear for him, that the assistants are gonna make it clear, and the expectations are gonna be known and stuff like that. So I really hope that Mitch is gonna respond really well. I just feel that he also might lose a little bit confidence because of his role on the team. I still kind of don't, maybe not like I don't see the things that how is he going to be used on the team, because I don't see a player that Thibs coached before that had exactly the skill set that Mitch has.
Right.
So it might be shaky ground for Mitch at this point, but I hope both guys can have a sit down, work it out, clear up the expectations lists and stuff like that, the goals, and make it work. We know that Thibs said that he can adjust, and we saw that he can adjust to the roster he's presented with. Let's hope he can make Mitchell, work, because it's going to be a hard thing for Knicks, fans to swallow if Thibs is going to bench Mitch or play him like 5, 7, 10 minutes, right?
Right.
That's going to be hard because everyone from the fan standpoint, they have the expectations that Mitch is the guy almost. That he's a really high rotation player. Expect 30, 35 minutes from him. I'm not too high on that topic. I think Thibs might bring a bucket of cold water on Mitch's head.
See, that's a bucket of cold water on Mitch's head. That's I like that, because Mitch, through his time in New York, it's been this, seems like under Fizdale, this carefree type of environment, right?
Yeah.
Which Mitch fits,
and it worked for Mitch, right? It worked for him.
It works for Mitch, right? That's kind of who Mitch is, right? A carefree kind of guy, has a lot of fun. I feel like that environment is going to change drastically with Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff that's here. These guys are going to come in, Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau. They want something different. I think, David Fizdale, with whatever was given to him, whatever kind of rules or whatever the plan was on building the team, it felt like, it just felt like a freaking summer camp or something, with the guys. It was just too fun loving.
Yeah.
Right. Which, like we said, Mitch fits into that. It's going to be different with Tom Thibodeau. The joking and playing that Mitch does, Tom Thibodeau might be like, yo, we're not doing that. We want to win. We need to cut that out. We need to be focused. We need to be serious. Save those jokes for the hotel room. Save those jokes when you get home or when you guys are out doing what you do, bowling, whatever it is. Don't bring it to practice. Don't bring it into the locker room. So I don't know how Tom Thibodeau should approach Mitch. As far as coaching him, that's a. I'm not. Yeah, so it's a. I don't know. I'm not sure. I got to think about it some more. That's a tough one.
Yeah, let's hope Woody is going to be working with Mitch, and he's going to ease him in the let's call it maybe the new culture and stuff like that. I hope Woody is going to take Mitch under his wing and try to work with him.
Yeah.
Not only Kenny Payne, because Kenny Payne works with big guys, but we saw reports that Woody was also down in Louisiana, wherever Mitch is, and working with him. So yeah, I hope he's gonna be like that. He's gonna do what he did with JR to Mitch. That would be awesome.
Right.
And so we should have said we should have make a spoiler alert for Kevin that we're gonna say a bad word about Mitch, bro. He's gonna have a heart attack when he's gonna be watching this.
He probably is gonna. I'll be expecting a text any minute. It's gonna go crazy. The environment with the New York Knicks. You go back to, he didn't play in college, so he didn't have any of the discipline you get in college coaching or the systems that they have in college. And then in high school, he probably didn't get coached the way you would think. Not that he didn't have a good coach, but he was by far the most talented and best player on the team. So we'll see how he's going to react in this environment, in a more serious environment. You know, I'm a little concerned about. Oh, I don't want to say concerned. I just want to see how it's going to be. The next couple of guys we're going to bring up aren't even guys that really played on the team, but they should be on the team, right? Ignaz Brazdeikis, he's got a contract, so he's going to be on the team. I'm not sure about Iggy either.
Yeah, only positive words we can say about him is, he took the weight on in the G League, right? So he panned out there. Maybe it's going to be like that, so that he's going to stay there a little bit. We have to see how the roster is going to pan out as long as these couple of the rest of the guys that we're going to chat about, right? Because Iggy's basically going to be a rookie where he played like in a couple of games, spot minutes. So we didn't have, as Knicks fans, anything to see from Ignaz except the Westchester Knicks games. So we can't expect much, though. We gotta hope that he's gonna take that tough love of Thibs and carry himself well with it.
Yeah, and I don't know his personality enough to know how Tom Thibodeau should address him or might address him. I don't know. I don't know enough about him yet.
Yeah.
He's friends with RJ Barrett. They come from the same ilk, if you want to say. So, if anything, maybe that's how you can take it. Like, he comes from that same ilk. They probably have the same type of mentality. He should be good.
Yeah, and only thing that we can say that probably he had a better coaching career path than Mitch, an example, because he went to college, he played in the national, the young squads, junior squads of the national team in Canada with RJ and with guys like that. So they had one of the best coaches probably from Canada and for whatever they have. But those guys were pros, like compared to Mitch's coaches, where he played only in high school, and we don't know the quality of the high school team organization, and he didn't play in college even. So this might be a disproportion between Mitch and Ignaz, as long as the coach player relationship.
Right, yeah. That good point. He's used to the coaching. When you talk about him and Mitch, he's used to the coaching. So we'll see, and it may help him out. Look, defense has been, he's
a little bit flat-footed,
right?
If you ask me, I saw only the spot minutes, right? But I saw his feet are like he's moving like in mud.
Yeah,
he got that slow feet, but at least he's strong,
right?
So that might be a helpful thing for him.
So being with Thibs, and if Thibs is hard on him, I think he's a guy that he might be a guy that can handle that toughness. I don't know much about him, but he might be that kind of guy. But Thibs, his defensive acumen, his want and will to play defense and push the teams towards defense can only help Iggy. So Kenny Wooten, I don't know much about him. Besides what he can do on the floor, as far as blocking shots and his athletic ability and those type of things, as far as how he would respond to Thibs.
Yeah, correct.
I don't know.
We as Knicks fans don't know. We know the team throughout. I don't think there's that many people that know these players better than us two. But it's hard to judge a guy before they hit the ground with this coach. So
right. So, I guess we'll see. Look, he's on a 2-way contract, so he's going to be on the team. We'll see what happens with the G League. That's going to be interesting, right? What happens with the G League? So we'll see how that goes. Does he have a chance of getting called up to the Knicks? I really don't think so. I know he's athletic and he can block shots, but I don't know what else he's really going to bring to the team. Now, a guy that could have a chance is Jared Harper.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also depends on how the roster is going to fill out. But if you ask me, if we're not getting a huge all-star superstar point guard in like CP3, Mike Conley, and whoever, and if we stick with to Frank and DSJ. I see that, that light for Jared Harper to be on the Knicks squad, maybe not getting much more minutes on the, like on the court, but at least practicing with the first team. And, whenever an injury is going to occur, he's going to have that chance.
Yeah. And as far as Tom Thibodeau, how to approach him, I don't know much about him, to know what his personality is like. And whether he can, handle that tough coaching or not. He seems like the kind of guy that can.
Yeah.
He seems like the kind of guy that he kind of reminds me of, from things that I've read about him, at least, that he has that type of mentality, like RJ Barrett. And he's the kind of guy that Tom Thibodeau can, if he makes it onto the team, that Tom Thibodeau can really, be really tough with and be strict with and be blunt with, and can just tell him exactly what he's thinking at that moment if he wants to. And not just Tom Thibodeau, but the entire coaching staff. Yeah,
and exactly. And to this point also, where we can add, Thibs can adjust, and he's going to adjust to the major guys on the roster, right? Major rotation players and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to sound really harsh, but I don't think he's going to have to care about these last fiddle guys. Just to be true with you, if he's going to want, an 8-9 man rotation, I don't think he's going to care about the 15 man on the roster.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I mean, he's going to care, of course, right? But, okay, maybe Jared, what do you want to eat for dinner, right? I'm going to bring it for you. He's not going to be that kind of, kind of guy.
Right.
I'm expecting Thibs to go on these guys harsh, and if they pan out, they pan out. If not, sorry, next man up.
Yeah, and that's right. You know what I mean? Those type of guys are gonna, I get, he's not gonna make any exceptions like that with these guys. I agree with you. Now this guy coming up, this is the last guy we're gonna talk about. I think this guy, Taj Gibson, he's definitely gonna treat Taj Gibson. He's going to approach him. I don't want to say treat, but he's going to approach him differently than probably any other guy, because they have a relationship. And I know Taj Gibson can be waived, but I just believe Taj Gibson is going to be back, right? Because Tom Thibodeau was there.
I'm so sure. I would be shocked. Really, I would be shocked if he gets released and picked up by someone else, unless he wants it. Because I just don't see it. I wouldn't be, I would be pretty sure that when Thibs was taking the job, he said that Taj has to stay. I'm that sure of it. They got a relationship from Chicago days, from Minnesota. So I'm guessing, this is like one of the players in the whole league that Thibs has trusted.
Yeah.
One of like the top 5 probably.
Yeah.
Except maybe, like Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler. I don't know about Noah, but I think he's in the top 5 certainly. So I'm guessing Thibs is gonna want that guy, even if he's not gonna be playing him minutes. Like later in the season, maybe. I'm guessing he's gonna be playing minutes, at the beginning. But if Mitch is gonna develop perfectly under Thibs and stuff like that, I think they're gonna be fine with Taj taking the back seat. And maybe in the future even being an assistant coach on the Knicks, on the Knicks.
And I think he might approach him as if he's an assistant coach. He won't be in the coaches' meetings and things like that, right? He won't be in there. But as far as helping to spread the message to the players, right?
Yeah.
I think Taj Gibson is going to be that conduit. He's going to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Sim, I think he's going to be like what Udonis Haslem is for the Heat.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't think you can say anything, closer to that, right? It's he's going to be that, that guy, that player that's between the players and the coach, and tell the worst things that are going to happen, behind Thibs' back. And I think he's definitely, for me, if I would bet money that he's gonna stay, I'm that sure.
Right, yeah, and I don't think Thibs is not gonna have to discipline Taj Gibson, because he's a pro's pro. He knows what he's doing. He knows what to expect from Thibs. You're not gonna have to discipline him. You're not gonna have to push him to work hard. He's definitely not going to scream at him. You know what I'm saying? Because that respect is going to, I mean, if he did something on the court that was crazy in the heat of the game, that's one thing, right? Of course, any coach is going to, no matter who, you know, you're going to yell like, what the hell are you doing? Right? But there's not going to be, it's going to give him the respect of a man as an adult. And probably, and yeah, I think that's how he's going to approach Taj Gibson. And
yeah, Sim, unless about that screaming at the coach, unless they, you know, play out a scenario that, you know, Taj, you got to screw up, I'm going to yell at you, so nobody says that, you know, we got like special treatment here going on.
Right.
Unless, you know, it's going to be like the Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich, you know, relationship on the court that, you know, Pops didn't give anything, you know, special for anyone. So I'm guessing if that happens, but, you know, I'm going to see right through it.
Exactly.
Just know that going to, 2 games from now, Todd, just do something stupid like, I don't know, hit the backboard from the side, you know, from the line base. I'm going to yell at you, so just the guys see.
Right. So they see it. Yeah. I could definitely see that happening. But yeah, Taj Gibson is going to be his guy. He's going to be Tom Thibodeau's. He's going to be the messenger, I think, man. And I'm glad. I like having Taj Gibson around. You need a pro like Taj Gibson around. And a guy that Tom Thibodeau can communicate through to the players. Because even having your assistant coaches, it's not going to be the same, because Taj Gibson is going to be, you know, he's in the locker room with the guys. He's out with the guys sometimes, probably not all the time, but, you know, maybe out with the guys on different events, eating dinner with the guys. So he hears and he knows all the little rumblings of what's happening and what's going on. Not that he's going to tell coach everything that's happening. You can't do that, because that'll break the trust of the players, right? So you can't tell him all the little things happening, but he can say, nah, coach, that might not work.
Yeah, or, you know, like this player is starting to, you know, ask questions, feel insecure and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, you know, Tibbs might have that, like, okay, let me play him like 1 game, 2 games, spot minutes, so he feels that he's with the team, instead of that, you know, neglected, you know, attitude happening on the roster, right? So, and he's gonna tell him things like that, you know, that's not gonna affect that are not gonna affect him or Tibbs straight up, but, you know, that, you know, he's gonna be that guy that's gonna see that, you know, whenever someone's down, and, you know, not only pep talk is gonna work, you know, then he's gonna, you know, argument with Tibbs, just, you know, I don't know, send an assistant coach, make him talk to you or whatever, right? So I'm expecting that role from Taj, and that's a huge role. We can't forget about it. The peer reviews guy that I think was in that position, and not that I'm comparing the two, because, you know, I know that fans hate him, but I think it was Lance Thomas.
Yeah, it was Lance.
And definitely he didn't have the relationship with the coach, and he had like 5 coaches in his, you know, tenure here with the Knicks. So he definitely didn't have the relationship with the coaches like Taj has with Tibbs, right? So that's going to be under, you know, everything, and not going to come out for sure, as I see it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Look, Taj Gibson is going to be important to this team. I think the Knicks going to develop over the next 2 years. If he's here for two more years or something like that, I think Taj Gibson will be important. Maybe not on the court, but as, like you said, that Udonis Haslam type of guy.
Yeah.
So there we go, folks. Andy, we made it through this time without my internet cutting off. I'm going to get that fixed.
Yo, we don't know if it's the internet, so maybe it's Isaiah, I don't know, pulling the plug on you because he's jealous that I'm on the coach's corner, not him, bro. So
You never know. But, you know, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, 3:30 p.m., John Wallace. So make sure that you're here with us live. John Wallace is going to be on the show, so that should be a dope show. 3:30 tomorrow. Make sure that you check it out. If you're on Sportscaster, look for a notification to your email, because we'll be setting that up. And if you're on YouTube, you already got this. You already got the notification. So, Andy, it's been a pleasure, man. We roughed it through, but we got through.
Yeah. Like I said, bro, if Knicks talk with you and whoever from the Knicks fam, it's a pleasure for me. So whenever I can join, I'm on.
Appreciate it, man. I'm out of here, guys. Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace out, guys.